Hi, everybody, and welcome to another podcast from Magnate Assets, another one in the series that we're calling Beyond Big Ben. But in this episode, we will be discussing Manchester, and I've got with me Hiren Naker. Hiren is CEO of Legacy UK Investments. So Hiren's got a background of around 20 years in UK investments and advice. So CEO of Legacy Investments. Legacy Investments have around 600 worldwide clients that Hiren and his team work with in terms of their investment or looking to invest in the UK. So they've got a big team and they advise people about UK investment. And I've invited Hiren along here today so we can talk about today's subject, which is Manchester, which is my favourite subject because I am from Manchester. Hiren, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Keith. Pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem. So, Manchester, I guess is one of your favourite subjects as well, and probably a favourite with a lot of your clients. So, why do you think why is Manchester considered one of the best property investments in the UK at the moment?
So it's a really good question there, Keith. I get asked this by a lot of clients, especially those that are looking to invest into the UK. They're always asking, what are the top cities in the UK and why are they the top cities? And honestly speaking, for the last probably good 6-7 years now, I tell clients if you're looking to make a good investment, it's got to be in Manchester because Manchester has consistently ranked as one of the UK's top performing property markets. It boasts strong capital appreciation. It's got very, very good rental yields and demand, and it is a thriving economy overall as well. It's got a growing population, a strong student market, and there are major infrastructure projects that have been consistently going on in Manchester for a good number of years. And the city offers excellent long-term investment potential for clients that are looking to buy property in the UK, hold it, and then maybe sell it after 10, 15, 20 years or whatever it might be. But it's going to give them good capital appreciation and rental yields especially. And most international clients are always looking for those two important things. Which city is going to give them the best return on their investment?
So then if you look at like Manchester, how does that compare to the rest of obviously there's London, which is a lot of people, London is the UK for a lot of people, and it's such a big place. How does Manchester compare with the other regional cities? Because I read the domestic or the economy was about 70 billion. So is it the second biggest economy outside of London?
Correct. It is. If you look, London has always been historically a great investment for international clients. But at the end of the day, one thing I always say about London is that it's grown. And if you were investing into London 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it would have been a fantastic investment. And in the same respect, that's where Manchester is, in my opinion, today. You see, unlike London, where there's high property prices, which also reduces your rental yields, Manchester offers a much better entry point for investors with investors that are looking for high growth potential. The city provides strong rental yields, which is typically around the 6 to 7%. And when you compare that to London, which typically is around 3 to 4%, in one respect, Manchester is pretty much double the rental yields compared to what London is. You've got a lot lower upfront costs, in terms of when you're buying a property into Manchester, and it makes it more accessible and profitable for investors. You see, typically, if you look at London, if you're looking at a good part of London at the moment, a one-bedroom apartment would cost you, 350, 400, 450,000 pounds. Manchester, you can pick up anything from around 200,000 pounds upwards, to around 300,000 pounds, but right in the city centre of Manchester. So, you could almost buy two properties in Manchester compared to one property in London. So in Manchester, you're doubling your investment as opposed to London.
Well, what's driving this and then in Manchester? Because it's been put out as noted as one of the best kind of, the place to invest probably over the last 5 to 10 years. And it's on that cycle. It's on that cycle of, there's regeneration and it's moving along that path. Is it along that path? Has it got more miles to go? What's driving the economic things that's driving Manchester right now in terms of, employers, economy, and so on. What's behind it?
So again, that's a really good question because you see, this is where a lot of people haven't realized as much, and this is why it's so booming. That Manchester's become home to a booming economy driven by industries such as technology, media, finance, and manufacturing. And then, if you look over the last few years, and even in the last 10 years as such, companies like Amazon, the BBC, Google, have strong presence there in Manchester now, which is attracting a lot of skilled professionals who need high quality rental properties. When you look, see, London has been a great place, and it was a capital. It is the capital of the UK. But when you look at businesses and they're looking at the cost and overheads and infrastructure, London's very, very expensive, especially when you're looking at the rental and the property prices and everything as well. Whereas, you could get, these kind of like offices are moving across town to Manchester. They're getting talent for much cheaper. You've got some top universities in Manchester, Manchester University and everything as well. Brilliant for media, marketing and things like that. And so these kind of companies are able to get offices in Manchester, which is not as expensive as having an office in London. Then they're able to get talent from areas like from these top universities and then employ them for a much lower price than what they'd be paying salaries in London. So, when you look at talent acquisition in that respect as well, Manchester's got a huge amount of it. And also, in a way, when you look at the parents globally now as well, they look at sending their children to UK for universities, right? Because of the high education standards. But a lot of parents are now saying, well, why send them to London when London's become so expensive, even for university, rentals, and also for them to live in and stuff there. So when you then look at these cities like Manchester and other cities like that, parents would rather send their children to those kind of cities where it's half the cost as well. So these are all the things that are starting to attract the Manchester economy, in my opinion.
Well, I think as well, I was reading that the retention from universities in terms of the students that are attending the universities is around about 50% actually will stay in Manchester anyway. And I think, that's probably playing into the population growth in Manchester. I mean, what's that kind of looking like in the next 10 years in terms of what they think is happening with the population growth, which is obviously a big factor in the demand for both properties pushing prices up and also rental demand as well, which is a great thing for investors, right?
Absolutely. No. I totally agree with you on that. And yes, the population is dramatically increasing in Manchester. You're finding more and more people are moving out of other cities and then going towards cities like Manchester now because, like firstly, you've got all the, and I always tell my clients this, that out of the FTSE 100 companies in the UK, 85% of them have now got offices or their head offices or a presence in Manchester. And when you see such a big growth of, FTSE 100 companies going into cities like Manchester, it's going to definitely attract more people to want to live closer towards the city and in Manchester, so it's easier to commute and get to work and everything as well. But then it's also increasing the population as we go along as well. Some interesting statistics I just recently read that Manchester City Council said that at the current rate of growth, Manchester's population is double the national average. Deloitte, on top of that, said, Manchester City Council firstly said that even at the current rate of growth, there's going to be 70,000 people moving in towards Manchester. And Deloitte said that even at the current rate of construction, there's going to be a shortage of at least 50,000 homes in Manchester over the next 3 to 4 years. So imagine you've got 70,000 people moving into Manchester in the next 2-3 years. We've got a shortage of over 50,000 homes. Now that kind of like shows you the growth potential. So if you're an investor and own a property in Manchester and then you're going to rent it out, the demand for rent is going to be high. It's going to be ridiculous. And it's always going to be tenanted. It'll never sit vacant or empty for more than a couple of days, really, to be honest. And even if it is vacant, it's probably because you're spending time on maybe painting it, decorating it, getting it ready for another tenant to move in. But the city's population is expected to grow, you're right, by about over 10% in the next decade, outpacing the housing supply that's currently available there. This means a consistent rise in property values and rental demand, and making it pretty much a resilient investment choice. And I tell my international clients that this is the city to invest in at the moment. And I do see continual growth there, even over the next 5 and 10 years. It's still way behind where London property prices are. So, we've got a lot of growth potential still available for Manchester right now.
I think that is the population growth, which is obviously spurring the demand. But I think also as well, Manchester's benefited probably in the last, say, 10, 15 years from regeneration projects. And I think wherever you start seeing this regeneration, wherever you see this investment from UK, that's where it improves infrastructure and it makes a place such a better place in terms of where the investment go and the development of residential properties and so on. I mean, are there still ongoing projects in Manchester in terms of regeneration that's going to keep driving this kind of, development and improvement around the city in terms of infrastructure and helping develop Manchester?
Absolutely. We're definitely seeing that at the moment. So, and I'll touch on something that you said is about the regeneration and things like that. Now, it's important for every city, no matter where it is in the world, to get consistent funding and regeneration projects going in, and the government's pumping in lots of money into that particular city. Because when you do that, you definitely find that more people are drawn and driven towards that particular city. And Manchester's seen huge amounts of growth and government funding, government backing. It's even got the third largest international airport at the moment. And, it implies pretty much all over the world to all the major countries around the world. So people don't have to go all the way down to either Birmingham or Heathrow in London. But in terms of infrastructure projects, I can tell you about one that's going on. So, even right now, there's a £4 billion regeneration project that's going on in Victoria North, which is just literally walking distance from the city centre. And ongoing city centre developments will significantly boost property prices as well as rental demands. These projects enhance connectivity, they increase employment opportunities, and it makes Manchester even more attractive to investors, basically. So, you're going to consistently see at the moment, there's so much growth and potential for government funding, regeneration projects in Manchester. And probably out of all the major cities, I think Manchester's probably getting the most amount of funding and regeneration projects compared to anywhere else in the UK. Birmingham had a huge amount over the last few years from the government, and now we're seeing a lot more of it's being pumped straight into Manchester.
Okay, so I mean, it's obviously got the best football team as well, Manchester City. So it's better than Liverpool. Hiren, I know you're a Liverpool fan, so I think I'm probably going to stay away from any more football talk right at the moment anyway, with the situation of where we're at. But so obviously Manchester, would you say it's probably the majority? Sorry, it's a city in which you get the majority of your investors are looking at right now. Is that what you're finding compared to other locations?
Absolutely. Because you see, when we speak to our clients, we try to educate the clients as to why any particular city would be a good form of investment for them in that particular city. And Manchester, even though I was born in the Midlands, I'd never been to Manchester for many, many years. And in the last 8 to 10 years, I've been going to Manchester a lot. And it is now become my absolute favorite city in the UK at the moment. I've seen it grow. It's a thriving economy there. The job growth potential is huge there. The city, when you drive into Manchester, you just see all these, beautiful buildings that are coming up. And it's even, look, it's my personal opinion, but I actually think it's sometimes more beautiful than what even London is, to be fair. Fine, London's got some of the, the Gherkin towers and all of that sort of stuff. But, when you look at Manchester, it's got some beautiful towers that are being built there. And like going previous, as what we said, the regeneration that's going on there as well. And, you've got areas like Media City now that a lot of people are, redeveloping around there as well. And you're seeing huge amounts of growth. It's where Google, Amazon, and those kind of like businesses are as well. and you're seeing huge amounts of growth. You've got the waterways and the canals there as well. So you've got really nice water views and everything as well. So, it's definitely the city. And I told my clients, all my investment clients, that if you've got the money and you really want to invest into something really good and you want to see long-term growth, then Manchester for sure is definitely the city to invest into.
So then here, and we obviously talk quite a bit around the different locations, city, and in particular around Manchester as well. I mean, is there like right now a development that you would say would make your number one probably in Manchester, and why would you put it as your number one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we've been working extensively in Manchester for a good number of years now. And, I've got a number of developments in Manchester that we have available off plan and ready complete for our clients. However, in the last, probably in the last 6 to 9 months, we had a fantastic development that we launched called Berkeley Square. And it's by far become one of my favorite developments that I always tell my clients about. The first development I ever say, if you're interested in Manchester, I'm always like, well, you've got to look at this development we've got in Berkeley Square. And the main reason why is because it's so strategically located between Manchester City Council and Media City, which I coincidentally just touched on a few moments ago. And it's two of the city's most highest demand areas. It's got a projected 7% rental yield. It's got luxury amenities. It's got flexible payment plans. It offers an excellent combination of strong returns and long-term growth for my investment clients. But it's probably more. Most thing I love about it is that it's so well priced for the location that it's in at the moment that even on completion in Q2 or 2026, the capital appreciation on that location, that area, it's going to be phenomenal for a client, to be fair. And then even if you're holding the property for the next 5, 10, 15 years, clients are going to see such a big growth on that particular area and that particular property. And it's got so many well-featured amenities within it as well that make it a great investment. Because what we're seeing is there's many cities around the UK where they don't really focus much on amenities, but Manchester, due to the kind of population growth it's having, the kind of people that live there, what you're seeing is that people love luxury apartments nowadays. But that doesn't mean in Manchester you're paying luxury prices like you would if you were buying in London. And I'll give you an example with Berkeley Square at the moment. It's got huge amount of amenities. It's got rooftop gardens with stunning views, like of Manchester and in the big towers and skyscrapers that are in Manchester. It's got like a state-of-the-art gym and a yoga rooms. It's got co-working space for remote professionals, and that's become very popular in the UK now with people working from home, maybe 1 or 2 days a week still. It's got cafes, concierge services. It's got secure parking. It's got bicycle storage and private terraces for some of the selected apartments. It's a beautifully landscaped piazza providing a rare green space so close to the city. And I think these are just some of the things that are making it really attractive for international investors wanting to buy into something like this, but not have to pay a massive premium, like double the price in other cities, but get all the facilities, be close to the city, and know that the kind of tenants that are going to move into these apartments are going to be executives and working professionals that are going to be working potentially even in Media City, which is literally 7 minutes tram ride away from their home. So these are just some of the things that make Berkeley Square such a great investment case, in my opinion.
So then on that, because I know we've talked about Berkeley Square before, because I know you're a big advocate of that particular project. So the entry price on that, how does that compare to other ones? So if I'm looking at a one bed in Berkeley Square, what am I going to kind of pay compared to what you think would be, other prices around the city?
So that's an excellent question. And this is exactly why I find Berkeley Square to be one of the best investment choices at the moment. Because you see, I'll give you an example. Next door, there's other developments around at the moment that are like ready and complete, okay? But they have zero amenities, okay? No amenities whatsoever. And it's like really a lot of apartments there. And, those apartments are selling for around, 205 to 210,000 pounds. But but like I say, with no amenities. But Berkeley Square is got all these amenities, and we've got one-bedroom apartments starting at about £220,000. So for £10,000 more, you're getting all of these amenities within this particular development, a stone throw away from Media City. And honestly speaking, when we've done price comparisons of the rent, you're probably going to get about 100 and sorry, you're probably going to get like £1,050 rent for the building next door. But get Berkeley Square, and on completion, we'd expect the rents to be around, £1,150 to £1,200 a month. So you're almost going to get £100, £150 a month more, and that's because the amenities are so much more better, and the rental demand will be much more higher. And Berkeley Square offers about a 7% rental yield, which is higher than the city average, which is around 5 to 6%. Additionally, property values in this area are projected to grow by almost 30% over the next 5 years, making it one of the most lucrative investments in Manchester.
And again, I mean, one of the things that I always talk about, again, through the podcast and podcast series we do, I think one of the unique things around UK property investment is the ability in terms of using buy-to-let finance, which I think is fairly unique to the UK market. So buy-to-let finance, for those, again, to understand it, is you're basically taking a mortgage on an interest-only basis and for the purposes of investment. And generally as well, those now tend to be to a limited company structure, which is obviously around the tax planning, which is essential to think about this. So I think in terms of that buy-to-let mortgage, you can probably get finance of around 60-70% on Berkeley, and then your investment probably with the fees and charges going to be around about £80,000-90,000 in terms of that. So that's paying the reservation fee, your deposit in terms of through the construction, and then on completion you've got the ability to take finance if you want. Is that correct? And what kind of ROI are you looking at then? Probably in terms of a good rental yield, you're only employing £80,000-90,000 in terms of the capital. So I would imagine that you can achieve 20% plus as an ROI in terms of the project and what's it projected for over the next 5 years, which I think Manchester's just short of like 30% capital growth, according to Savills and the Knight Frank in the world. I mean, is that right in terms of how that investment can look?
Absolutely. So, to give you an idea, typically, because we predominantly work with international clients from all over the world, and as you rightly pointed out earlier on, we've got over 400 or 500 clients globally that we've been working with for a number of years. Typically, buy-to-let mortgages are probably the best way of buying a property in the UK at the moment. And depending on the nationality and the country, typically we can get loan-to-value mortgages of between 65% or up to 75%, believe it or not, for some clients. So if you're a British passport holder client, even if you're living in the GCC or Turkey or Africa or something like that, you could actually still get up to 75% mortgages. And then, going all the way down to like 65%, depending on the country you live in, reside in, and how high risk that particular country could be for a UK lender. But to add on that as well, I mean, we work with up to 17 lenders in the UK that specialize in helping clients all over the world get mortgages. I mean, we've got clients virtually in all the major countries around the world. I'll give you some examples: Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Turkey, South America. We've got clients in the US. We've got obviously all of the GCC, with us being based in Dubai. These are just to name but a few of the countries: China, Asia. We've got clients all over, and we can get mortgages for virtually every single client. We rarely ever get a client not being able to get a mortgage, because buy-to-let mortgages are the best way of getting a mortgage in the UK. They're very understanding, because a buy-to-let mortgage is an investment property, and the lenders know this, and they know that the people who are that the mortgages are going to be paid every month, because it's going to be rented out and the rent is going to pay the mortgages. So it makes it a lot more easier. And the other thing, which you quite rightly pointed out, is that we've helped many clients put properties into a company structure, because there are many tax benefits by doing this. Mortgage options are still available for even international clients that put their properties into a company structure in the UK. There are many tax benefits in that. It could be to do with inheritance tax, corporation tax, income taxes, and we cover this with all of our clients and give a really good overview of all of these things as well. And in terms of ROI, yes, absolutely. Manchester, the way it's growing at the moment, we're going to comfortably see clients making around a 30%, 20, 30, 35% return, even over the next 5 to 10 years, according to Savills and JLL, Knight Frank. These kind of market predictions is what we're looking at, because the growth potential is huge. The rental market is huge. And don't forget, you're finding more and more people in the UK are finding it hard to raise a deposit in the UK. So they're going to consistently continue renting. The average age, interestingly, for people to know, is that the average age somebody buys their first property in the UK is around 36, 37 years old. So which means after they graduate from universities, for almost 15 years, 18 years, people will be renting a property until they get onto the property ladder. So this again is showing very strong statistics as to why international investors still love buying into UK property. And your return on investment is still going to be very, very strong. And not only that, for international investors who love investing into the UK, whose economy where they're living at the moment may have inflation rates that are skyrocketed, devaluation of their currencies, investing into UK property in a hard currency like GBP sterling, is giving them a very, very good return on investment, not only just on the income and capital appreciation, but if they converted that money back into their own local currency, they're going to see a huge increase in value there as well. So there are multiple factors to look at when people are looking at ROI, not just from a property, but also from currency hedging and currency devaluation of their current currencies where they live.
That's a really interesting point, actually. We can have probably never not kind of thought or considered. And I think the other question I get asked quite a lot around leveraging and taking finances, is it reflected by my age? It's the whole thing around the buy-to-let mortgages. It's driven on a kind of business decision in terms of or a proposition or investment decision, i.e. the mortgage company is saying if the rent coming in is 125% of what the interest payment's going to be, then there's enough coverage. That's basically what's driving that decision in terms of their security, the income, and so on and so forth. And it's going to be interest based onwards, or the capital is paid when you sell it. And obviously, as well, you've mentioned using a limited company does bring a lot of benefits tax wise and in terms of stamp duty when you sell it on and so on. And even if you use family incorporated businesses, then you can start managing the inheritance tax around it if you're going to hold that for a long term as well in terms of that. So I think if we kind of bring this to, I think great chat so far. I mean, if you kind of surmise it, if someone's considering investing in the UK, why would you, to summarize it, why do you think Manchester should be one of their top choices? If you kind of summarized it and maybe, if somebody wants to explore something like Berkeley Square, how they go about it?
So in summary, Manchester, if you're looking for a great investment opportunity, good capital appreciation, high return on investments, and rental yields, then absolutely Manchester would be the number one choice. All the FTSE 100 companies, 85% of them there. Great employment opportunities are there. The BBC, ITV, Sky, they all moved out of London 10 years ago and set up in Manchester. Multinational companies like that would have only set up there for a reason if it was going to be lucrative and beneficial. And so Manchester still, even over the next 5 and 10 years, I just see continual growth potential there. I personally only invest into Manchester at the moment. I was investing into Birmingham, 7, 8 years ago and bought a number of properties there. In the last 4 years, 5 years, I've just been heavily investing into Manchester and building up my property portfolio there. And I foresee that still for the future. With Berkeley Square, and by the way, it's not just about bias only Berkeley Square. We do have other developments in Manchester as well, but Berkeley Square is absolutely my number one favorite development because of the location, starting prices. You can reserve a unit for as little as £5,000. We've got payment plans available, which is 10% now, 10% after 3 months or 6 months if you go for a 2-bedroom option. So that makes it even more affordable to be able to buy a bigger apartment, more expensive, but the return on your investment is still going to be very, very strong. Then we would be happy to assist all of our clients and help them and handhold them through the whole process of buying a property in the UK. And we do, as a company, offer the full turnkey solution for our clients from start to finish, which is, you will help you find the right unit all within your budget. From there, we'll introduce you to independent panel of lawyers in the UK that will help you to do the exchange of contracts and also do the KYCs and AMLs and source of wealth. We will then introduce you to mortgage lenders in the UK that will help you to get an international mortgage. We will then help with the full property management, where the property will get tenanted, managing, maintaining it, and even help to resell it in the future. So throughout the whole process, we will help you to buy the property and the right unit in Berkeley Square if you require it.
Hiren, that's great. And I think, it's been quite informative to learn about Manchester, obviously my hometown as well, and for you to say how great it is. I do like Manchester, obviously, and I think I've seen, like you have, over a period of time, how that's all progressed. If anybody's interested and wants to talk to Hiren anymore or do the like, you can visit our website, www.magnateassets.com. You can locate I'm Berkeley and the Manchester project. We can connect you with all the right people. And as Hiren says, we're able to connect you with Legacy UK as well around projects, or you want a conversation around investing in Manchester, and the guys can take care of steering you through that whole process. Hiren, thanks a lot. Anything you want to add to that in terms of today's conversation?
No, absolutely. Keith, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to present ourselves as a company and the great investment opportunity in Berkeley Square. And just thank you very much for having me. I look forward to our next meeting again.
Hiren, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time, and have a great rest of the day. Thanks, Hiren.
Thank you very much. Thank you.